see my nipples?
Stop barking. I will sell you on Depop.
Had to make sure it was mine. Welcome back to my channel, or hello if you are new here. My name is Liv. Congratulations, you're officially in a cult and this is your first meeting. Today is episode 1 on YouTube, at least, of my series 1 Degree Hotter that I started on my TikTok and my Instagram, so you can go follow me over there if you like more short form content. Hello, gorgeous creatures, editing me here. So I messed up. This is actually not going to be part of my 1 Degree Hotter series. I misspoke. Well, actually, I didn't misspeak. This idea came to me the night after I filmed this. 1 Degree Hotter is going to be exclusive for my short form content on TikTok and Instagram. So definitely go check out my profiles over there. This new little series is going to be exclusive to YouTube, and it's called Know Better, Do Better. And that is the new series. So this is episode 1 of Know Better, Do Better. Thank you. And the series is all about just trying to get 1 degree better every day to reach whatever goal you have. And my goal is losing some weight. 2025 was a little bit of a rough year for your girl. I gained a little bit of weight. Honestly, I've been accumulating weight ever since I started grad school, and I'm just a little bit too fluffy.
For my liking.
For me, I just don't feel my best. And I'm going on a trip in February that I just want to be a little bit more okay? So I decided that I want to start a cut. And truth be told, I've been doing it for a couple weeks now, and I wanted to share with you guys what I'm doing, but honestly, more so how I'm maintaining it. And being that it's the beginning of the year, I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. You might be trying to get back into the swing of things or the start of things. So I wanted to just film with you guys a little beginner-friendly lower body glute workout. So that is what's on the docket today, but I'm tired of the flavor of talking, so I'm gonna finish my makeup and I'll see you guys at the gym.
Wow, the lighting in here is truly atrocious, but welcome. We're in my apartment gym. I've actually been here for quite a bit, but there was a dude in here that was making me really uncomfortable, so I was waiting to pull out my camera. And it's moments like those where I wish I could go, Jarvis, delete that man. When I warm up for pretty much any workout that I'm gonna do, I pretty much always do the same like 5 things. Cat-cow, bird dog, thoracic rotation, hip cars, glute bridge. That's pretty much it. So that's what we're gonna start with. Whenever I do my warm-ups, I really just like to pay attention to my breathing, like get in touch with my body, feel what she wants, feel what she needs before I jump into my weights. This angle must be real fun. What is a lower body day without a squat variation? So a lot of people, when they're first working out, they'll like start with like a goblet squat. Nothing wrong with that. I just think it's better to get over your fear of machinery sooner rather than later, because this guy, a Smith machine, is gonna be one of your best friends. Your hands are not gonna hold as much as like your back, right? So I really love this machine. It also helps lock you into place, which is what differentiates it from like a free barbell. But obviously there's a million different things to take into account. Your breathing, your foot placement, where you're pushing through your feet, blah, blah, blah. The only thing I want you to focus on for right now is where this bar is sitting on your back. Because I find with a lot of beginners, they start with the bar like right behind their neck, and not only is that super uncomfortable, it is unsafe. So I want you to think about your traps as shelves, and you're creating just like a little shelf for this bar to sit on. It's gonna be way more comfortable, and it's actually gonna help you load more. So let's do a little warm up. So you see it's kind of just sitting right on my traps, not on the back of my neck. Now the foot placement is obviously gonna be individual. I would recommend just like a little bit wider than hips width, toes pointed slightly out, and you're just gonna sit into your squat. And guess what? You can adjust as you go. This is gassing me today, and I don't even know why. So squats are challenging because squats are what we would call a compound lift, meaning that there's multiple major muscle groups working at once to perform the lift. So the 3 major compound lifts are gonna be your squat, your bench, your deadlift. So if you feel winded, you're doing a good weight. I said, I don't wanna overwhelm you with cues and things to pay attention to, because I actually think that that could take away from you connecting with the exercise. But I'll just tell you what I think about for my last set of squats is pushing through my feet. And a lot of the times people will tell you that if you push through your heels, like you'll feel it more in your glutes. That's not actually the truth. And like I said, we're not doing this for glutes, we're doing this as an overall leg builder. And for me to generate the most power right now, I'm thinking about pushing through the middle of my feet. And honestly, I think about that for most of my exercises. Okay, let's talk split squats. This, in my opinion, arguably is another compound lift, but I won't get into that. Again, there's 1,017 ways to do this. There's the Bulgarian split squat where the rear foot is elevated. I also like to do the rear foot elevated on like a little plate or a step. I might do that today before I show you or after I show you this version. A lot of people, when they do squats, lunges, split squats, they tend to stay really upright when they do that. And that just puts a lot of tension on like the rear hip flexor here. And to get the glute, we need some hip flexion because that stretches out the glute. That way, when you come back up, you go into extension, which is what the glutes do. So what I want you to think about, when you go down, it's like you're trying to bring your chest to your knee. That way, you take a lot of the stress off of that back leg and you're really putting most of the load on whichever leg is in front. So let me demonstrate. We're gonna do 3 sets of 8 reps. Hip thrust, right? The ultimate glute builder. Well, there's a million ways that you could do this. I personally love using the Smith machine, just not the one at my apartment because the safety bars are too high. Hip thruster machine, a glute drive machine, or a good old dumbbell on a bench, which is what I'm gonna show you. So we're gonna play around with some things. I'm gonna warm up. I'll do just like 10 reps regular, but then we're gonna do staggered stance just to get more like single leg isolation, but the staggered stance just gives you a little bit of extra support. Kind of just place it right on top of my thighs, just before my crease, as close as I can. Keeping my head forward and my chin tucked, from my head down to my hips, everything moves at once. And I'm squeezing on the way down as well. Okay, guess what? This lighting might be really harsh, but this adjustment is super simple. So setup is exactly the same for just like a regular hip thrust. So I'm gonna just weasel myself down. Bench is resting at cross strap level. It's gonna go slightly out in front and I'm just gonna pick my toes up on that side. Now all the weight is on my right leg. Apartment gym may not have lots, but we do have this leg extension hamstring curl machine, and we're gonna do some hamstring curls today because there really is nothing that supports the glutes better than a nice pair of developed hamstrings. So I'm gonna show you my hack to get a really nice hamstring burn. And this machine looks a little bit scary because it's a 2-in-1. I'm sure that if you have a machine at your gym, it's either just one or the other, so do not be intimidated by it. And once you kind of get your settings down, write them down, you'll have them forever. What I like to do is lock myself in nice and tight. That way I can't lift my thighs up off the seat. I like to try to just like remind myself to just relax my feet as much as possible. So that way my hamstrings are doing the work and I'm not getting any extra help from like my calves or anything like that. Here is my secret. The hamstrings along with the glutes help to extend the hips. So what I like to do to put them on a stretch is to hinge my hips forward by kind of like pushing myself forward with my hands. That way when I curl, it's a real big stretch on my hamstrings because I'm starting in a super lengthened position. And again, just to keep it super simple, when you're first starting out, just 3 sets of 8 to 10, 10 to 12, just so that you get used to the movement patterns. Once you become a little bit more intermediate advanced or you have like a super specific goal, then we start to change up the sets and the reps. I'm almost done. We just have one more movement after this. Okay. Wow, change of scenery. She's a real content creator. I'm really spoiling you guys in this video. But final exercise is going to be glute isolation, specifically like glute min-med. So we're gonna do some side lying abduction. I'm gonna take a plate. I'm gonna put it on my thigh, the like outside of my thigh, right before my knee. I'm gonna lay down. All I'm gonna do is lift and lower. We're gonna do 12 here, 12 per side. We're gonna do a nice little burnout. Wow, this burns way more than I thought it would. Maybe this isn't a beginner exercise.
12. Okay.
Ow. And then you switch.
Okay, the time has come for me to tell you exactly what I'm doing. Do you know that he's an emotional support animal? Who's getting the emotional support? So the time has come for us to talk about exactly what I'm doing and the steps that I'm taking to not only complete this cut and do it successfully, but maintain it and not lose my mind. So I'm in my late 20s, right? My body is not the same as it was when I was in my late teens, early 20s, when I was still obviously super physically active, but I could eat a little bit more with some leeway. Now, I cannot do that. So I reassessed my macros and my caloric intake and what I actually would need on a day-to-day basis based on my current fitness levels and my goals. Calculate your macros. It's very easy. There's an online calculator. There's a bunch of fancy formulas, but honestly, you could just calculate it online for free. And it's gonna give you information on the amount of calories that you're going to need to consume and the macro breakdowns depending on what your goal is, your height, your current weight, your activity level. So let's talk about that really quick. If I were to not touch my diet at all, and I was to just look at my activity level prior to me starting this cut, I would have noticed that I'm actually not moving as much as I think I'm moving. When you're assessing your level of daily activity, it's very easy to assume and think that just because you go to the gym maybe 4 or 5 times a week and you lift really heavy and your heart rate gets up, when you're lifting, you're extremely active, moderately to very active. And the reality of the situation is if you're doing all of that, but you're still sitting for the entirety of the rest of the day, you're not as active as you think. So when I got that through my noggin, I realized, wow, I'm actually not moving as much as I can. And I know everybody and their mom talks about this, especially when you get to a certain age, but you gotta get your steps in. You underestimate how life-changing it could be to just hit like 10,000 steps a day. That's what everybody says. You gotta hit your 10,000 steps a day. So all I've been doing, again, if I hadn't touched my diet, the only thing I changed to my fitness routine is adding in walking on the treadmill at the end of my workout, sometimes at the beginning of my workouts, and cycling. Basically cardio. I'm sorry. I tried to avoid the word as long as I could, but I've just been upping my cardio. This has made a huge difference, as well as just getting my daily steps in. Obviously, I have a dog, so I walk my dog quite a bit. Just get outside. You would be amazed not only how much walking helps just your overall body, but your mental as well. But I had mentioned, how are we making this maintainable? Because obviously I'm cutting my calories and I'm adding cardio. Aren't you hungry all the goddamn time? No. So if you've noticed, the modes that I'm getting my heart rate up and implementing my cardio are pretty low intensity methods. Reason being, because if I just implemented a bunch of running and sprinting and HIIT classes and grinding on the Stairmaster as fast as I can, which there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you enjoy, but you might notice that if those are the methods that you like to use, you're gonna be hungrier more often because those take a lot of energy and they burn through your glycogen. But with the modes that I've chosen to do, they're a little bit lower intensity. They don't take all of my energy away from me, which is why I'm able to do them even pre or post workout, and they don't spike my hunger. So I don't feel like I need to consume more because I'm not actually exerting as much energy, but I'm still getting my heart rate up. Now let's actually talk about the calories, the caloric deficit itself. How much are we cutting? What are we swapping out? What are we implementing? What's the deal? So obviously it's gonna depend on your time frame, right? Obviously, the longer window that you have to maintain a caloric deficit, the less that you're gonna have to slash your calories. Unless you are preparing for a bodybuilding competition, there is no need to be eating the caloric intake of a toddler. So like I said, I take my daily expenditure, right? The amount of calories that I burn in a day, with addition to the amount of calories that I burn exercising, and I just wanna consume about 500 to 600 less than that, because I still want to maintain my heavy lifts. And that is just for me personally. I am not looking to lose 15, 20 pounds. That's not my specific goal. So that is just what I am doing. What am I replacing and what am I focusing on in terms of my actual meals? Protein forward.
That's my focus because I'm still trying to maintain as much muscle mass as I can and my energy levels and lifting as heavy as I can given the situation that I'm putting myself in. I want to make sure that I'm getting adequate protein, but I'm still also eating carbs and fats, right? So my focus now has gone to eating protein first. And that is something that you can carry with you, whether you've meal prepped, whether you go out to a restaurant, whether you get a snack on the fly, if you're at the airport. The other thing that I've started doing, which is a little bit funny, but maybe this is just me getting old, is I'm eating a lot more soup. I have grown to love soup. I love making soup. I make my own bone broth. I love miso soup. I love lemon chicken soup. I love a soup. And for me, that's a fantastic way to get in my protein, get in my vegetables, get in some really good healthy fats, a lot of micronutrients in soup, especially if it's homemade. So that for me has been a huge hack. The other thing that I am not doing, and I want to say this, I might even put this first. I don't fast. I don't workout fasted. I don't do intermittent fasting. I don't believe in water fasts, 24-hour fasts. Unless you are doing it for religious reasons or you're getting a colonoscopy, there is no reason to fast. I know I might be hee hee ha ha, but I'm still science first. And the evidence shows, the research shows, especially for women, fasting is not a good idea. And neither is getting a dog. What are you doing? Make sure that you're staying hydrated. That's gonna play a huge role in also your hunger cues and how you feel at the beginning and the end of the day during your workouts. Drink your water. Also, if you're taking creatine and other supplements, don't stop doing that. Keep creatine in your routine. But let's talk about the sneaky liquids. If you're someone like me that thinks that they deserve an iced coffee every day, you're right. But a lot of times those little treat drinks, your matchas, your coffees, they have a lot of sneaky sugars in them. And I didn't realize how much excess sugar I was getting through my drinks. A lot of excess sugar. So what I do is I either treat myself once a week if I'm going on a date with my girlfriends, or I make my own drink. So instead of getting a vanilla cream cold brew from my local coffee shop, I get a cold brew with a little bit of half and half and a pump of like sugar-free vanilla, or I get just a cold brew and just a little bit of the cold foam. The last thing I want to talk to you about is sleeping. No matter what, and I say this, I feel like in every video, no matter what your goal is, doesn't matter. You need to be getting adequate rest, especially if you are on a caloric deficit, but you are still trying to lift moderately heavy, right? You need to make sure that you're getting adequate rest so that the cells have time to recharge and turn over because they're working with less, right? They're working with less calories than before. Truthfully, I didn't take notes, so hopefully that was cohesive, but those are just the things genuinely that I'm doing day to day. I don't feel like I had to turn my whole world upside down just to reach this goal. It's just little baby steps every day that compounds to make a difference. Everything that you want is possible. It might not be easy, but it is simple. The hardest part is just staying consistent. So that is what I'm doing to maintain and sustain and succeed at my cuts. If you have any other tips, tricks, questions, comments, concerns, you just want to say hi, leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. But I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
You drive me crazy. 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 Sit.